Hi, very good morning to you. Welcome to all of you guys, wherever you are around the world at this point in time when you've chose to tune in and listen to what's been going on with your planet. We've got an Earth Alpha update which I'm going to cover, as well as just let you know that we've had some data come in over the weekend, which I finally got round to processing it from one of our superstars in Canada. He also informed me that it was his 74th birthday, so very happy birthday to you, Kendall. I'm sure all the subscribers to the channel will be joining me in wishing you a very happy birthday, and we hope you have a lot more. He's also sent us, Kendall has some muon data which we're going to go and have a look at now, as well as some of the other anomalies that have been taking place with our Earth. So here we are on the channel website, poleshiftnews.com. If you want to go over there, you can have a look at the archive of what's been going on with your planet over the last 4 years now that we've been covering this, is it? What you'll notice that we've got a atmospheric CO2 reservoir in the atmosphere of 423 parts or 25 parts per million. Atmospheric oxygen 2021. And there's the latest latitude and longitude of the Earth's magnetic poles over the northern hemisphere. The radiation background's normal at 0.15 microsieverts. We've got 25 volcanoes in eruption. The largest earthquake there in the last 24 hours was measured at 5.7 over the South Sandwich Islands region. Muons in the UK are at 529 parts, 529 per hour per square metre, and there's Kendall's ones that he recently sent me coming in at 861 per hour per square metre. So moving on to the sunspot numbers, that's 5, which is good to see a little bit more activity, but still for this point in the cycle it's very low numbers. The geomagnetic field is quiet, solar X-rays are normal, and as we already know, the jet streams are unstable pretty much all around the world now, and they seem to be further becoming unstable as time goes on. We are approaching almost 11 months to that all-important 40-degree mark over the northern hemisphere, where it is anticipated when we do reach that in around about 11 months we may see some activity beforehand, maybe a little bit after. We're just going to have to wait and see, but it is at that point where we should start to see the magnetic North Pole fully migrated a distance of 40 degrees over the northern hemisphere, and therefore we should expect it to start moving into those weaker field lines where it can migrate much faster. That's what we anticipate here at the observatory. We're just going to have to wait and see if that is the case. Another thing that I've been keeping my eye on over the last week or so is the British national grid and how it differs from day to day. We're going to have a quick look at the national grid, and all you need to do is put this in perspective in your own country. You know, we've got a population of around 65-70 million people here. We've got a total household in dwelling numbers of around 24 million, and I've put together some interesting data which I'm going to show you shortly with regards to if everybody had solar panels on the roof, how much electricity that would generate for the grid. And you're going to see whether you could whether it would be enough to or not enough to power the grid if every single home in the UK had solar panels. Let's just go and take a quick look at that, because it is interesting. So this morning I took a quick screenshot of how things were starting to look for the day. Obviously the wind has dropped. To be fair, on a good day of plenty of winds and gusts, we can draw around 30% out of renewables. But you can see this was done around 8:30 this morning. Obviously the sun wasn't at its full power. I would presume that will get up to around about 5-6% production of electricity from the solar panels that we've got here in the UK. Wind is a lot lower than what it was. It's only at 12.9% today. That obviously the wind has dropped off dramatically, but if we look at gas and combined cycled gas, how much we're using, you'll see it's 51%. Now, gas is a lot more reliable than renewables, as we know now. But the point is this, is that we're trying to achieve net zero here in the UK, and a lot of European countries are trying to do this very same thing. But it's going to be very difficult. We're using today 56.4% of fossil fuels to keep our grid going, and in doing so producing around about 32 gigawatts of electricity. Now, I've broke all this down for us because I'm just interested in seeing whether we've got the capacity, just using the dwellings in the UK, if we was to put 10 solar panels on each, whether we'd have enough to actually produce enough electricity. On average, I would say what we need to be comfortable is to be in a position where we can produce 35 gigawatts to run the country. Now, like I said, we've got a population of around 65 million. We've got 24 million homes as of a survey that was conducted in 2020. So there might be just a few more houses. I wouldn't imagine that would make any difference, but I broke it all down and done some maths for you so that you could see for yourself where all this is going, and whether there's going to be any hope that we can pull ourselves away from using fossil fuels in the near future. Let's have a look at what I come up with. So I think it's very important sometimes to do things like what we've done here and ask these questions and work out whether it's possible, because it will tell you the answer if you do things like this. So we start off asking the question, can we power the UK on solar panels alone? How many gigawatts does the UK use each day? It's around 35. I think we'd be comfortable if we could produce 35 gigawatts of solar power every day. How many watts are in 1 gigawatt? We can see there's 1,000 million watts in 1 gigawatt. That's just to give you an idea of the amount of zeros after that one, and give you an idea of how many watts. The reason why I've done that is so that when we start talking about average solar panels only having 150 watts, it gives you an idea of how many solar panels you'd actually need. So as you can see, there's 1,000 million watts. If we divided that by 10 solar panels, we'd have 100,000 watts divided by 150, because each solar panel, or the average solar panel output, would be 150 watts. And to produce 1 gigawatt, we would need 666,666 homes. So it doesn't take a scientist to work out what you've got to do next. You just times that number by 35, gives you a figure of 23,333,310 homes, each having 10 150 watt solar panels. So as you can see there, as of March 2020, there are 24.7 million homes in the UK. We would need to produce 35 gigawatts, 23 million or 23.3 million homes, each having 10 solar panels. Now the thing is that not all these homes in the UK are perfectly situated to have these solar panels on. So we've also got to say that, do the calculation. How many of them are actually south facing, which is the ideal position to have solar panels on a roof? How many of these are high-rise dwellings? How many of them masonettes? Because obviously there is no room for each of these dwellings to have 10 solar panels on, let alone them be perfectly situated. But the bottom line here is, guys, is that in ideal conditions, if we used nearly every one of the houses in the UK, we would struggle to produce the 35 gigawatts needed to run the country on solar panels alone. So not only would we need more houses than what we've got, more roof space than what we have available, we would also need to produce twice that amount, because solar panels don't work in the evening when the sun goes down. And we would also need the capacity to store that energy as well. So, the bottom line here is, I know it's a lovely idea, and it's a dream that the British government have of, you know, becoming net zero around 2030. But the true truth of the matter is it's never going to be achieved with solar panels alone. Wind power, if we go back to having a look at what it's like today, let's do that right now. So here we are over on the National Grid live status as of 10:30 on the 8th of the 4th 2022. This is live, and we're looking at how much solar power we're actually. I wasn't far off, as he'd say, when the sun got up a little bit higher, you know, we'd be producing a little bit more, but still less than 5% is being produced on solar powers. Wind has dropped off dramatically, giving us just 10% now of wind generation power. So the total renewables at the moment is 16.6%. You know, at that rate, we would need to invest trillions of pounds on solar panels and wind turbines to cut the 54.4% of fossil fuels that we're actually burning right now to keep our grid producing, as you can see, just shy of 33 gigawatts. You know, you can see there we're consuming gas now at 51%, and we're burning coal at a further 4%. These are the fossil fuels that they want to try and achieve net zero by 2030. I don't think they're going to do it, do you guys? The problem is that when we see demands increase, like I'll just show you down here on the 10-year average chart, when we see that little curl going up there at the end of the top black line, it means that the demand is on the increase, not on the decrease, and that makes renewables look even worse, and that's why we're all paying more money. You know, I told you the other day, the reason why our energy has gone up is because the demand went up because of people were using their electric cars and charging them up at off-peak times, which meant that the people that benefited from off-peak cheaper electricity now are being penalised by people charging up their cars. As a result, you know, the consumption has gone up, and even though those people that use it more than others should be, in my view, paying more than the others, they've decided to spread the costs on all of the people that consume electricity across the range, and that's not fair, because on average these people with electric cars are using 8.3 times more electricity than the rest of us, and yet we're having to pay more for it. But the big picture here is, guys, is that if we look at how much renewables are actually generating electricity at this moment, there's 16.6%. You can see that the pump storage on the other energy there, the blue one, has had to be kicked in to you know, push up the actual gigawatts that we're producing to manage on what we've got. So the thing is, we're going to keep getting taxed, we're going to keep getting ripped off by these energy companies, and they're going to keep selling us this dream that we can achieve net zero carbon by that time. But as I've showed in videos over the months now, over the years now, that, you know, CO2 is not a problem. You know, man-made CO2 is not what is changing the climate. What's changing the climate is more along the truthful things that we look at on this channel and over at our website, and that is the magnetic poles are reversing. You know, we are 6,000 years returning into a glacial period. Have a look at the local news. Just do a quick search today at record-breaking temperatures in Europe right now over the Northern Hemisphere. You know, they're having to light fires in the vineyards and in the fruit fields to keep those blossoms from falling off the trees early, because that means a loss for them if that happens. You know, the world is slowly gearing up to get a lot colder, and it is not because of man. If it was, then what we should be doing is encouraging more fossil burning, because the last thing this earth at this present time, with the mentality of the world leaders, needs is it for it to go colder. You know, if we was making it warmer, we should make it even more warmer. You know, we shouldn't be going green at this point in time. We should be going red. We should be using more coal, more fossil fuels, because if they are really responsible for making the world a warmer place, then we need it at this moment. because we ain't ready yet to go back into a glacial period with our mentality, and we certainly haven't geared up for it yet. You know, we have a looming crisis that we are facing, not just here in the UK or in the United States or in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, but globally. We are gearing up for a global catastrophe, and everyone that has the power and political will to do something about it don't seem to be doing nothing about it. And I've got to say this, guys, I'm sorry, people don't want to hear it, but people are becoming too complacent themselves in general. Human beings are becoming too complacent, and they're shrugging their shoulders off at some serious issues around the world. You know, I know it's bad already that we've lost a lot of arable cropping lands. I know that the climate is, you know, having a detrimental impact on farming and agriculture globally already. And the last thing we want is wars like what we're seeing in the Ukraine. But more importantly, what we don't want is any more of these mainstream media lies and, you know, just pacifying us off with their, you know, dreams of becoming greener in the future and achieving net zero, because it will never be achieved. The world can't afford it, is the bottom line. No one in this world at this moment can afford it. You know, we're losing jobs because of technology and technological advancements. We're losing arable cropping land because of the changing in climate, as possibly a direct result of three things: returning back to a glacial period, a grand solar minimum, and an Earth going through a magnetic reversal. You know, people are not going to be able to cope in the much too distant future. And people need to start taking this serious, more serious now than they ever have done, because we could see in just 11 months some real dramatic changes to our planet. Guys, I'm going to end this video with, if you hadn't guessed already, a mention about the link that most of the people on this channel, you know, out of the 42,000 subscribers that we've got, seem to choose to ignore it. And, you know, a lot of people don't value, you know, this information that we put out regularly as being worthy of a little bit of support. But nevertheless, you know, I will mention it in the hope that, you know, a few people step forward and actually start supporting what we do, because we break it down here for you guys. You know, we make it simple, hopefully, so that you can understand what's going on. We don't just say you'll never achieve renewable energy. We show you why you won't achieve it. You know, this is trying to pull ourselves and wean ourselves off of fossil fuels is ridiculous. The world can't afford it. You know, the layperson, me and you, cannot afford it. And the dream of everybody having electric vehicles will just never be achieved for the fact we don't have enough cobalt and enough lithium on this planet to achieve that. We don't have enough lithium and cobalt to supply the demand of battery storage units which we would need if we did go all solar panels. We just don't physically have the resources to achieve this dream. You know, there's a link down there if you want to help support what we do. Hopefully some of you do see the value in what we do here. Guys, only other thing to say is, you know, have an amazing day. You take care of your loved ones and start now taking some time out to talk about these issues with your family. And if you haven't already, for God's sakes, start putting up some provisions. You don't need a lot. Bug out bag, a few months worth of food. It'll help you out immensely if ever you should need to fall back on that policy of insurance for your family. And let's face it, you only have to fork out once for it. You should have that already now if you haven't. Guys, as always, bye for now.